I walked into a life of tainted dreams and gumball machines. Nestled between the window seat and the drain of the mainstream, watching chaotic daylight stand stern on horizons.
Hey, Jason. How are you,
Good,
man?
Good. You can just call me Jay.
Jay?
Yeah,
Hi,
it's
Jay.
just up on the gram as Jason for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I gotta change it. I'll let it be.
All right. How you doing, man?
Good. Long days.
Well, dude, I've been like following you and I've been looking at your posts, looking at your stories, and you just seem like you're always doing something. You're always active and there's always something that you're doing and you're always working out,
Yeah,
fitness and
man.
everything.
Constantly, right?
Yes.
Somebody's got to pay the bills.
Yes. What motivates you to do all that?
I guess it's just my mindset, man. I have to just keep going,
Hmm.
I got to just be motivated, like just to do something. If I'm not doing anything, I just don't feel happy.
Right. Dude,
So
I feel
it
like
doesn't matter what it is. I have to do something.
right.
If you hit me up and you're like, hey man, I could be dead tired and you're like, hey, can you do this thing for me real quick? I'd be like, you know what? All right, let's go.
Yeah. How many? Because even when we've been messaging back and forth, and obviously we're in different time zones, but even
Yeah.
after that, like when you message me all late and then you message me all early, I'm like, damn, when does this guy sleep?
Right. I barely sleep, man. If I got this whoop and
Uh-huh.
it just yells at me all the time. It's like, you need recovery. You're not fully recovered. Get some sleep. Go to bed at this time. I don't know if you have a whoop, but it's constantly telling me that.
Right.
So
No,
I
I
usually get like 3 to 4 hours of sleep. So
how many hours of that are
three to 4 hours.
3 to 4 hours?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Has that always have you always had that schedule?
Always since a child. Yeah,
Really?
like I'm up. Like I'm always like wired to like go. You know,
Really?
if I ever get like 7 hours of sleep, my body's like, what the hell is this? So, what are we on vacation? What are you doing?
Right. And I mean, I would imagine because you already put yourself in a position where you have to constantly be doing something, and every day, everything that you do on a daily basis consists um of what your end result is. Because now you're right now you're an MMA fighter, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how's that coming along?
The MMA life is cool. I love it. I've been doing it for a couple of years. Um, it's brutal. It's the
Yeah.
only thing that's brutal about it for me is the one second. Come here. Come here. Yeah, he has this little like shoe toy that's like really loud.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it's uh so it's it's the cutting weight from like 30 to 40 pounds within
Yeah.
like a couple of weeks. That's the toughest part.
Really.
Training is good. The fighting is easy, as long as you know how to fight. So I still got a couple more years on me in the fight game, so I can go a long ways with that. But it's the cutting weight in such short period of time sometimes, or even if you have 60 days to cut weight, just doing it is a pain in the ass, the whole process, unless you're cutting weight from like 5 pounds,
Hmm.
then it's good. But most of us, like I'm a heavyweight, I fight at 185,
Hmm.
so basically my weight is 230 and I have to drop down to 185 sometimes.
Wow.
So cutting that weight in such a short period of time could put a strain in your body. Yeah. So
And I would imagine that would even take some time for your body to adjust.
yeah. And if you don't do it right, you could come out like a mush afterwards. So many things there. Yeah, goes into play with that. So lots and lots of different types of training in order to maintain your body and so on and so forth.
So you
So
go from what weight to 185? What's the
yeah.
most weight that I mean, what's the biggest that you've been, and then you had to drop down to 185?
Oh man, this was years ago. This is when I was a amateur, about to turn pro, and I was in a semi-pro position for a long time. So this promoter is just like, yo, these guys want to fight you badly. can you fight heavyweight? It's like, yeah, no problem. I'm already in the weight class. So it was like 240 at the time, probably even higher.
Wow.
And my heavyweight opponent backed out. Sort of short period of time, my heavyweight opponent backed out. And then he's like, hey, can you fight middleweight? That's 205. I was like, done. Cut the weight. I think I had like 60 days or something like that to do this.
Wow.
Cut down to 205. He's like, guess what, man? The opponent backed out. I'm like, damn. He's
Oh.
like, can you fight at 185? It's like, damn, that's gonna be drastic. But all right, I'm in, man. I already went through this process. Let's do it. Cut
Right.
down to 185 from like 245, I believe it was, all the way down to 185. Made weight. I was underweight actually. And
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
and went in there, man. I was so drained. So that was like the biggest weight cut. So what is that? Like 70 pounds basically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah,
so when that happens, do you tell your buddies like, don't invite me out. I'm not having drinks. I'm not having junk food. Don't bother me.
So that's the thing. You gotta have the headspace for it, because no matter what, right? You're gonna smell the food. People are gonna have it around you. Like, I enjoy the smell. So so I can eat with my eyes and not like put food to mouth to face kind of deal. So it was tough, but I did it.
So what is the best diet that has worked for you?
The best diet. Because I'm also a personal trainer. I try like every single diet for my clients also. So they're all pretty interesting in their own ways. That the thing that they have in common is like, you have to follow a system, and that usually works for people. No matter how much you weigh, so on and so forth. For me, my body, everyone's body is different. So for me, because I know my restrictions, like I know
Mhm.
I'm actually one of those people that's like, can't have gluten and can't have dairy and so on and so forth. So I have a shitload of restrictions. So I know my body. So I know it's easy for my body to go up and down. So for me, my own diet is just following like a nice clean diet. I don't have junk food because I can't have it.
Right.
So it's fairly simple. So usually when I write a client's program, I give them something I would give to myself, unless they're vegetarian or vegan or pescatarian, then I customize it for them. So basically I work off everyone's body. So I won't say, hey, go keto, or hey, go paleo. I would never recommend that, I would just say what works for your body. Unless
Right.
Spartan hit me up and say, hey, Jay, we got to say keto.
Oh,
And,
wow.
you know,
Right now,
so,
I'm trying, well, I wouldn't say I'm going full keto, but I'm eliminating a lot of carbs. And I gotta say, like, it just eliminating carbs is
mhm.
such a big difference. Like over the weekend, we went to a little barbecue and
Yeah,
there was burgers and hot dogs. And I just had the burger patty. I didn't have the buns. And just having the burger patty, it just
yeah,
it seemed so different because I could literally just keep on eating and I didn't feel that bloatiness and that nasty feeling after.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
such a difference.
It really, man. All that stuff really bloats you up. I mean, I feel like every human it happens to, like us, like if there's a show that you could watch, I forgot the name of it. It's like What the Wheat, and there's another one which has to do with like flour. Our
Mm,
body doesn't digest that stuff properly, and there's so much stuff in it that it kills us. So
right.
our body is just like, we get bloated and we feel heavy, and we have like a bad reaction to it. So whenever you cut out carbs, that's basically what you're doing. But I would say add the carbs, and you do need it for workouts and so on and so forth to push you through a workout. So like, for example, a client,
Hmm.
she would have like a pizza the night before, and I say,
Mm,
just let me know when you have pizza. you know Fairly simple. I can push a workout for you the next day that you can maximize that, that pizza.
hmm.
So don't worry about it. It's not
Mm,
the end of the world. You treat yourself sometimes. So I wouldn't say cut out carbs altogether, and you can still get your carbs from your veggies on top of that. So
yeah.
yeah, but definitely if you cut out the bad carbs, you're gonna feel so much better.
Yes.
Yeah,
Big difference. At
yeah,
least I'm like, wow, you can literally just have the patty and no bun, and
yeah,
you still feel great after. Because
yeah.
after
When
you're like, damn, I shouldn't have ate that.
Yeah,
So
when I used to do that around people, they were like, "Wait, what are you doing? You can do that?" I said, "Yeah,
right.
I can
And
eat my burger with a knife and a fork. Yeah, you can do
yeah,
that." Yeah,
yeah, it's like a Mickey Mouse steak or something. I don't know.
for real, man.
Um, how many? And then I like your Spartan shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. You know what? I just wear these things now. I don't even realize that I was actually
Really?
wearing it.
I hope I get to that point where I could
Yeah,
just put
man.
them on and don't even notice it.
Yeah.
How often have you done, or do you still do Spartan races?
I haven't done Spartan races in a lot, but I still train clients for Spartan races.
Mhm.
I'm gonna do one. It must have been probably 2 or 3 years since I've done a Spartan race, but I still
Oh,
train
really?
clients to do them. Yeah, I've probably done over 20 plus Spartan races though.
Really?
Yeah. They're
Wow.
fun, man. I enjoy them. Even if I
Yes.
don't do it by myself, I do it in a group. I like helping people through the races. So they're a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
training people for them. It's a good time. But I'm gonna do my first one this year.
Mhm.
Um, I believe it's in. Is it Dallas or is it no? No, it's in Jersey.
Mm.
It's in Jersey. I think it's in October. I have to double check that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah.
And then are you sponsored by Spartan, or how's that work?
Yeah, sponsored by
Okay.
Spartan. I work for Spartan, so they'll
Okay,
take care
cool.
of that. So they'll
So
take care of
did
it.
they tell you, hey, Jay, we need you to attend this Spartan race. Get ready. Kill
There
it.
you go. I got to get ready for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, is your Spartan training and your MMA training kind of similar, different, or what do you do when it comes to that?
Semi, because you still got to do strength and you got to do conditioning. You got to do a lot of functional stuff. So in a way, they can interact with each other. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So in a way, they're a little bit similar. But for Spartan, you do a lot of condition. Well, for MMA, you got to do a lot of conditioning work, but we train specific muscles for MMA.
Mm-hmm.
If I know I'm kicking a lot, I'm doing a lot of resistance stuff. If I know I'm punching a lot, I'm doing a lot of resistance stuff. Spartan races, we're doing a lot of carrying, a lot of pushing, a lot of pulling, so and so forth. And it
Mm,
depends on the fighter also. With MMA.
right. Mm.
Yeah, and then
And
with Spartan, everyone basically trains the same.
oh, okay. Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
In 2000, when I got this shirt in 2018, I attended the Spartan race in California, and that was my first time going to it. And what I did with the best training that I knew how to do, so
yeah,
I didn't do much of cardio. I was just doing strength. And then when I got to the race, I literally died.
yeah. You got your butt kicked.
Yes, I got my butt kicked big time. And then I did the super, which is the 8 miles and 24, 25 obstacles, give or take. And
Yeah,
after, my body was just done. Like, my forearms were killing me, my my quad, everything. And I think I was sore for about a week because of that. And now
yeah. That makes sense,
I've
man.
come to realize that it's a lot more of cardio, and you got to have good endurance and all that.
No matter how hard you think you train for, you're still gonna like be sore afterwards. Even myself, I still train and I push myself, and I'm a competitor, so I'm always gonna like, all
Mhm,
right, that lady's passing me, I gotta pass that lady at least, So
mhm.
you're still gonna be hurting in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mentioned to you that, in my company, we've set up a little team to do the sparring race.
yeah.
And it's funny because every day, like every Monday and Friday, I usually put the dates. Like right now, I have it there for, like, you have 17 days till race day, and then the people are just like, "Oh shit!" Like, we gotta work out, and they're all freaking out. What are some of the things that for sure you're like, if you before you do a race, you're like, what, this is something that I gotta do, and like, because I already done it, I know
Hmm.
I have to work on, like, pull-ups, or I have to learn how to do climb a rope effectively? What are some
Yeah.
words that you say that, you know what, I gotta do this?
Yeah, so that is one of them. I definitely do a lot of hill sprints if I
Mm.
know I'm doing that. One of my biggest ones is, hi, buddy. One of my biggest ones is farmer's carry. So I'll get the heaviest weight I
Mm.
can. I'll do a lot of sandbag carries, up hills if I can. I'll do a lot of slams because you'll need that. You know, you need your body to go up and down. Rope
Oh,
pulls.
okay.
So basically, one of my favorite is just sitting down and just pulling a kettlebell up and down on a rope, you know, just to
Oh,
practice
a
that rope
kettlebell.
climbing skill.
Um,
Yeah. So just attach it to a rope and just pull back and forth. It really helps with that forearm strength. Um, and then if you can find a monkey bars, just hang from a monkey bar for a while. You don't have to practice going across. You know, you can just hang from it, see how long you can hold on to the monkey bar. You know, if you want, also you can practice wetting your hands and just hang for a while.
you wet
Um,
your hands.
yeah, you can wet your hands and see how long you can stay up there
Oh
for a long
man,
period of time. Just in, yeah, if you just happen to get some water splash on you or something,
true.
or a mud or something crazy like that, you'll need to hang. Um, There's a couple of my favorite ones. Definitely some hill sprints, definitely some slams, but and all my all-time favorite is farmers carries. That's my favorite. You know.
Mm. And how many pounds do you usually do when you do farmer carriers?
So I'm up to 100 pounds, and I go just for a distance. So I want to say my gym is about, it's probably about 20 yards. So I'll go up and down that. I'll take a break and then I'll go back and forth again. So I'll do like 5 rounds of that. Yeah. So it's
Mm.
100-pound dumbbells on each side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, um, how many? When did you start doing the sparring races? Because you said you've done about 20 plus.
Yeah. A long time ago, I stumbled on it. I don't remember when. I stumbled on it. How did I? Oh, eBoost. I don't know if you've ever heard of eBoost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that company, they like just put a team together and we're doing this thing. This is when uh Tough Mudder, I don't even know if they still exist, if they're still
Yeah,
out
Tough
there.
Mudder still
Yeah.
exists.
Yeah. So it seems like they were going back and forth. And then I was introduced to it through eBoost. And they're like, we're getting a team together and we're doing this thing called Spartan. It was like, what? That sounds like fun. And we did it out in New Jersey. And we
Mhm.
did it. And ever since I was like hooked. I was just like going by myself. I was going wherever they're at. I want to do it. I want to get the beast. I want to get the trifecta. I want to
Right.
give me
It's
these nettles. I was like hitting
it
people up,
becomes
showing me.
addicting.
Yeah, it was like, this is fun. Let's go.
So
Yeah,
at
man.
what after all these races, at what point was it where, or how's the work, or how was the feeling when they said, you know what, we want to sponsor you to be a sparring race and attend, so and so races?
Um, I mean, it's a good feeling to work with Spartan. They're a fantastic company to work with and for. So it's just a good feeling overall to know that you were doing this and then eventually you ended up working for them. Hi, buddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good feeling.
What do you think helped you the most of becoming recognized by sparring?
You know what? I'm not too sure. A lot of sponsors have reached out to me in the past, and I can't really pinpoint one thing.
Mm.
I could say it could be a recommendation of some sort. It could just be being a fighter. It
Mm.
could be me, like, I'm not 100% sure
Mm.
where.
And it
So,
seems
but they
like you already
reached out.
have a lot of good qualifications that you would you would fit perfect to be a sparring. You're an MMA
Yeah,
fighter, you're active, you're a personal trainer, and they're like, well, why isn't this guy sparring? Let's make him a sparring.
yeah, right. He's active. Let's put him in
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So and then they started doing their at-home app, and I put on some classes and workouts for that. So
Mm,
they're pretty awesome, man. Spartan's dope.
right. What are 'cause one time I did a challenge, a little. It was like a little independent challenge after the sparring race, and I messed up. And I mean, I've learned from this, but what I did is I ate a semi big meal before, and
Yeah.
I was going uphill, and I just ended up barfing all over the place. And yeah, after that, I was like, I was like, okay, for sure I can't do that again.
Yeah,
Now I'm just like scared. Okay, like if I don't eat, I shouldn't eat like an hour before, but
yeah.
when,
You said when to eat.
yeah,
All right.
or what to eat.
So what to eat? I would say eat a lot of carbs the night before, right? So usually they're early in the mornings. At
Hmm.
least the ones that I've done, they're early in the morning. So I would say get up earlier, probably like 2 hours earlier, and
Hmm.
still have something in your system. But the night before is it's crucial. So you want to eat a lot of carbs so you can carry it through the next day because you're gonna need that. And then the next day, I would say have some oatmeal. Nothing too crazy. Don't add a lot of milk. Nothing that's gonna send you to the bathroom or throw up. Just something small, not a big portion. Like I would say, like 1/3 cup of oatmeal versus like a cup of oatmeal
Hmm.
that can put you through. So
Right.
that's what I would have. Let me tell you a story real quick. I remember this is probably like my third or fourth Spartan race that I did. I wasn't with a group; it was by myself, and I made that mistake of eating
Mhm.
something incorrectly. Like I rushed it. I think it was like coffee, right, and
Oh.
like eggs, and every time you have, yeah. So when you have coffee, you got to go. And I remember it was like the first out the gate or something like that, or in the middle of it. I was on top of the mountain. I was like, oh wait, no, I gotta go, you know, and there's no bathroom. And I was like, no, I'm dying right now. What should I do? And going, hitting the obstacles, and there's no bathrooms. Like maybe it's on this one. There's no bathrooms. Like I never noticed these things because I was always going.
Right.
And then it's like, all right, there's no bathroom. What do I do? Man, I jumped into the bushes, popped a squat, and I had on like this armband, and I took the armband off and did business. I was like, this is crazy.
That.
And it happened again. It must have been like my seventh or 10th, or what in those
Oh
numbers.
wow.
I did it
Mhm.
again. And I don't know how I messed up on that one. And I had to run into the bushes again. And I had to use my underwear for that one to get my
Oh.
business done. I was like, man, what the hell? Finished though.
Yeah,
It's like,
see, and it's like the
yeah,
little things are the ones that kill you. Because I even before I was like, man, I hope I either go to the bathroom way before the race or right
yeah.
before, and it's almost like I need to I need to force it out.
Gotta get it out.
Yeah,
Gotta get it out.
you gotta get it out. How many do you still sleep like 3 to 4 hours before your race?
Yeah, man. I try. I take
Wow.
so many. I take like so many different like sleeping pills to try and get some rest. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it works. Like say if you recommend something to me right now, like I've never taken before, my body will listen to it, and it actually will. Hi, buddy. My body will listen to it and pass out. Right. So
Really?
that's the first time, and I'll probably get like 5 or 6 hours of sleep. But then if I try to take it again, my body would be like, "Oh, that's a joke." How
Yeah.
dare you try to trick me
Get that
twice?
shit out of here.
So get that out of here. So I want to say like last year, I was just like, I was like, this is crazy. Um, like, how am I functioning on this much hours of sleep? Because that's when I recently got the whoop,
Mhm.
and I'm just like, I'm still have I've got all the energy in the world. I don't go to bed until like late, but I get up early and I still like wired. So I thought it was I didn't do my research. I'm like, maybe I have some form of sleep apnea. Like,
Mhm.
I can figure it out. Do I just, snore at night? What is it? Why am I up?
Mhm.
And I went and got the sleep study done where I had to wear this thing in my nose, I had to put a
Oh.
mask on, like they did this whole thing. And it was like, what's wrong with me? Why am I getting 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep? And is this normal? And I went back, got my results 2 weeks later, and the guy's like, hey man, you're just totally fine. This is
Hmm.
some people just function on 3 to 4 hours of sleep. There's
Wow.
nothing wrong with you. You don't have any sleep apnea and no other sleep conditions. It's just that you function on 3 to 4 hours of sleep.
Right.
So yeah, man, it's
Wow.
always been like that.
Yeah, and that's crazy because I mean, you even hear from experts that you're supposed to get on average from 7 to 9 hours of sleep. But
Yeah,
then I've even tried it to get, 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and even after 6 hours, I don't feel
yeah,
as great as if I were to sleep only 6. You know, it's like sometimes you just have the sometimes you have that your own amount of hours, you know,
Yeah,
regardless. I mean, everybody's just like, you know, diet, everybody's different and not everybody has the same body shape. Not everybody has the same physical activity, and
yeah,
it's all whatever works for you.
yeah. Everyone's body's completely different. I have a friend that I just finished training. She took my class, and she cannot function without 10 hours of sleep. I've been
Wow.
friends with her for years, and she just cannot function. And she tells me all the time, like she's in bed like by like 7. You know, yeah. So if she gets less than that, she's just like dead to the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, that's crazy. And you know, with diets and stuff, because do you have you heard of like the three body types, like the mesomorph, the ectomorph, and I think it's the endomorph?
That's correct.
How
There you go,
many?
my man.
Yeah.
You got it right.
How do you do, like when you're training people, do you say, okay, you're, you know, you're an endomorph. You gotta, what, this is the diet that I would recommend for you. How do you use that as a tool or?
So I use it, but not as much, right? Like I can have someone that's a mesomorph and do something an endomorph can't do. So I don't really go by that as much, you
Mhm.
know. Hi, buddy. So I don't really go by that as much. So um, I usually ask a client what they want beforehand. Hey, do you want to cut weight? Do you want to
Mm.
what is your goal? And then I'll work from there. Instead of going by endomeso and what you call it morph. So that's usually how I write a program for someone. Because a lot of people
Okay.
just like I like my heavy weights, or another person be like I like my slim weight. I want to stay at 175, or a person might say, hey, I want to stay at 220. So I work off that. Hi,
Right.
buddy. Yeah.
What do you think would be a good diet for someone trying to like bulk up?
Bulking up, right? Usually people that come to me that say they want to bulk up, it's people that have fast metabolism.
Mm.
And I tell them, hey, you got to constantly eat. You just got to eat the right things, and you got to work
Okay.
out also on top of it. Um, and sometimes I'll add a little creatine. I'll say, hey, add a little creatine to it so you get a little water weight in there, et cetera, et cetera. Just constantly keep eating and working out with it. So you got to put that food to use.
Mm.
Um, so I would say, hey, go heavy on the steak, go heavy on the chicken,
Mm.
but eat certain amount of times and make sure you put it to use. You're eating right. Still eat clean, just eat more of it.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the body type, I'll say, hey, you're at 3,000 calories or 2,500 calories. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so everyone is completely different. Like me, if bulking up, I would need to eat like 2,500.
Okay.
I eat small amounts. For a big guy, I eat small amounts and I get full fast. So so just so 25 is not like ideal. Someone for me, for my weight and height, it would be higher than that, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, so anyone trying to bulk up, I would say, hey, go heavy, add more calories, make sure you work out. The opposite of trimming down,
Right.
So
Because
fairly simple.
when you're bulking up, you're pretty much you're trying to lift more weight, right? So you could get, yeah, so you could obviously bulk up, and that's
Yeah.
why
So
you need
yeah,
to you need to upgrade, or you need to eat more steak or eat more protein. Is it
yeah,
more protein, more fat and stuff like that?
yeah. Basically more pro. So it doesn't have to be meat. Meat. You can find it from any other like veggies. As long as you go high in protein, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're talking about the workout aspect of it, bulking up, you definitely have to go higher in your reps, go high heavy on your
Mm-hmm.
weight, but slowly build it up until you get to
Okay.
that bulk size. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, so
Yeah.
you can't do light weights, low reps. You have to basically do low reps, high weights in order to get that bulk size. Hi,
Right.
buddy.
It's crazy how much of a difference it is just to have like creatine when you work out. Like I remember
Mhm.
the first time I had creatine, I still remember like I remember very vividly, and I took it, and then I was doing deadlifts, and I was like, you know what, this doesn't seem heavy enough. So I went and I added another 45 pound. I was like, and then I mean I never done it. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, it literally felt like I've never taken steroids, but I would imagine they would feel like that, like just picking up.
That left.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah, it
crazy
helps
how
a
much.
little bit. Yeah, I've never taken roids myself. I'm gonna stay far away from it.
Yeah.
But creatine, I tested it out for a client, and then from there I can say, hey, try it.
Mm,
Like I always test certain things out before I recommend them. Like I said, so creatine is something not something I take all the time, but
mm,
I've tried it and I say, hey, this works for such if you're trying to bulk up or if you want to get a better lift. Take a few creatine, and that's the only time I'd recommend it. If you're
mm.
trimming down, I would say, hey, don't have the creatine.
Right. Yeah, because even like before and now with the discussion of coffee, I don't know if that's even a good idea, but what I've done when I go work out, I usually make a cup of coffee, and then it's like a iced coffee, and then I put some creatine in it.
Yeah,
And I feel like that kind of, I feel so far it's helped me out, or I feel like it's helped me out. It definitely hasn't like held me back or anything, but that's something that I thought of even doing at the Spartan race. Because right now at this point, I'm like, okay, whatever I do now that I see working, I'm gonna do at the race.
yeah. Um, the thing about the coffee though is that it can mess your stomach up if you're going into the race. That's the only thing because you'll want to go to the bathroom. But the caffeine does help. It's just like everyone always asks me, hey, what uh, 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 fat burners do you recommend, or so on and so forth. So I would say have coffee. It's basically the same thing, as a fat burner.
Mm,
Um, I need to wake up, have coffee. Those are the times that I recommend coffee. You
right.
know, um, but you can add it to your coffee, the creatine, if it helps you out. But if you know you're running a race or something like that, I would say don't do it, or
Right.
have it. Give yourself some time, release, and then go out there and do your business.
Right.
Yeah,
Very cool. So
yeah, man.
back to the MMA. How did you get started in MMA, or how did you get, like, what motivated you to be part of that?
Um, I've always been like a go-getter and I tried to be active. So as a kid, I was just like in so many different things. Like my folks put me in karate, taekwondo.
Mm,
I had all the energy in the world. I was playing soccer, like any sport I was doing it. And then I picked up wrestling. Then I picked up kickboxing, and then Muay Thai, and then over time, um, what you call it, started fighting, and MMA was my chosen style. I loved sorry, Muay Thai was my chosen style, and that's my favorite art. Still my favorite art. And then MMA became real popular.
mhm.
Everyone's talking about UFC and stuff like that. So it's just like, why not give this a whirl? So I wasn't big on jujitsu, but I had some wrestling, so that got me very far. And I was just like winning these MMA fights. It was like, all right, I'll stay here for a while. So, so did that. It's fun, you know, and won a lot of fights and won a couple belts for a couple different organizations. And it was like cool up here. A couple organizations found me and just like, hey, you should fight for us. And then Bellator found me, and they're like, hey, fight for us. And
Mm,
that's where it jumped on it. So that's how that turned out. But I like the art itself, you
mm.
know, of doing it, training, going through it. So you gotta have the love for it.
Right, right. It's
Yeah.
almost like you gotta love it so much that like the hits, the punches, the injuries, all that are the least important things of it.
Yeah, Yes, you know it's gonna come, right? Like for me, for example, I have, let's see, I have 3 broken fingers. I have 2 broken knuckles. I have 2 torn shoulders,
Oh
two
my.
torn knees. I've broken my foot, and what else? Yeah, and those are all fighting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
The only one that was in the ring was the broken foot,
mm,
and the rest is just training. So that's gonna come with it,
wow.
So
So you've had
I
more injuries in training than the actual fight.
than the actual fight itself. Yeah, that's
Wow.
yeah. So I hear people talk a lot. Oh, we when I watch fights, and there's people that don't know anything about the fight game. They'd be like, "Oh, he punked out. That's why he's not fighting whatchamacallit." It's like, no, injuries happen. You put yourself through so much, and it happens when you're overdoing it. That's when the
Mm,
injuries happen. It's like
right.
I've been there, and so many fighters still go into a fight injured. Like
Mm,
I can't say there's never a time I've ever been into a ring or a cage not injured. You
really.
know, yeah, yeah, constantly injured. And so going in there, you're gonna have some form of injury.
Yeah. And it's crazy to me, like even when I'm watching fights and I see like, the punches in the stomach and just in random spots and it to the fighters, it doesn't look like it hurts, because you don't see them like or anything like that, but they hurt because they're giving it all. But it's crazy how you don't actually see, how it actually hurts.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things, man. You condition your body for it. It's insane. That's why training is so 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 important. You get hit in the head a couple times. You're like, okay, I get hit again. I know what it feels like. But if you don't
Mm,
train and you get hit in a certain spot, you're like, ooh, that's new. All right, then
right.
you're gonna winch up. You're gonna get knocked out, so on and so forth. But if your body's prepared for it, you're
Right.
good. So it's
That
all
makes
about
sense.
conditioning yourself for it. You know.
Right.
Um, so there's years ago I used to work at this gym. I can say it, UFC gym,
Mm,
and I don't know if it still happens around the world, but people used to come in and challenge me as the coach. Before I became a professional fighter, and not that I was an actual fighter, and challenge me.
mhm.
Um, we say, hey, he's a coach. I want to challenge him. It happens. It's so crazy, and I would give them a wake up call. Just one
Oh.
good hit, just to say, hey, you don't walk into a gym and say, let me challenge this person. You can keep that in the streets, but it happens. So people's fantasy of fighting, of I'm watching this on TV, I can do it. It's easy. It's not that easy.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you have to do a lot of training, condition yourself for it in order to step in.
Right. Is there like has there been a hit on you or your body where it's just it hurts so much that you can never forget about it?
In training,
Oh, in
yeah.
training.
Yeah, in training. I want to say one, two, maybe like four. Yeah, maybe like 4 times that happened. I was training with Liam McGarry. He was the Bellator heavyweight champion,
Mm,
um, uh, light heavyweight champion, and we're training for his fight at this gym. And I went up and I did a nice head kick, always confident with it. Boom,
mhm.
went up for a head kick, and he held it for a longer period of time, and my knee just snapped. So that was one, and then another one was David Branch used to fight for the UFC. We used to train like once a week, and uh, I'm good with defense. I like a lot of head movement. Try and get my opponents to come at me. And David Branch, he like zoned in on my head movement. And that's the first time I actually got caught real good on the button, like right on the chin. And it's just like, wow, that's a good right. And turned out that he was a boxer before. So it's like, that's why.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my buddy Corey, he now transferred from the UFC to Bellator, and he's a really fantastic wrestler, man. Um, he was really nice about it. I did not expect it. Like I went for a kick, he caught me real quick and just slammed me down. It's like wow. Like
Wow.
I prepare for falls all the time, but that's one. It's just like head snap back. It's like all right, black out for 2 seconds. All right, I'm back.
Wow.
Now I know to expect that. If that was in the cage or in the ring, that would have been a knockout, and it'd be like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
But since you're in training and you get that, your body knows, all right, this is what happens.
Right. That's crazy. And it
Yeah. So
seems
yeah,
like
I've had hits, man. Yeah.
it seems that some of the scariest things that could happen to you is knowing or your opponent knowing your moves and exactly what you're gonna do, because after that you're kind of like, what do I do next?
Yeah. That's something. You have to basically watch tape, knowing that you're going into a fight. We watch tape. So say you and me were fighting. My team will go and watch your fights and be like, okay, this is what he's gonna probably do to you.
Mhm.
So this is what you have to do to counter that. So constantly like watching tapes on your opponents. Hi, buddy. He's like crying. He's like, I want to play. Yeah. So you have to like constantly watch tape on your opponent to see what he or she is gonna do next to counter that. So
Right.
yeah, so knowing all that and knowing if he or she kicks you or punch you here to flinch up for that or tighten up for that or move out the way of that. So it's all about knowing your opponent in the long run.
Right. Yeah, and that it's crazy how, and MMA's been, or even just fighting has been around for so many years, and of how much it has evolved. And I mean, it would be crazy to even live in the old times where it was almost, you know, death, you know.
Yeah, can you think about that? Back in those days, it was to the death.
Yeah,
Like
to the
that's
death.
wild to even think about. You're freaking gladiator.
Yeah. And I mean, even like with the injuries, how would the training be? Like, would you almost have to kill yourself in training to be ready for the actual fight?
Yeah, that's how it works, man. And I'm sure that's what they did back in those days. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we do right now. We put our bodies
Right.
through hell, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
in training and then in weight cuts. It's so many things to combat. It could be a 30-second fight, but we still got to put our bodies through hell,
Right.
and now the fights are 5 minutes, so we put
It's
our body through all that craziness for months to do a 5-minute fight.
right. And see, when you're working out, and when you're, just doing something, you don't really realize how, or when you're in the actual ring, you don't, that's when you realize how much long is 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, man. You'll recognize 30 seconds real quick.
Yeah.
you'll,
Right.
you'll look up at that clock and you'll be like, only 30 seconds? I thought it was like 4:30 already.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's it.
how's the time when you're like fighting? Because like I said, like when you don't, it may seem just like 5 minutes, but I would imagine, to you guys, it would feel like almost eternity. Like shit, like when
Oh
is,
yeah,
especially when it's like on your side, you're doing pretty good. You're like, shit, when's the bell gonna ring?
yeah. If you're being offensive and you're doing great, the time is short. But if you're getting murdered, you're like, what? Is it an eternity? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it depends on who you how you're moving, who you are, you know, how good you are at fighting. You don't worry
Right.
so much about the time.
Yeah, and see, when I see stuff like that, it just fascinates me how much potential the human body has, and how much we push it to, extreme limits. And I mean, there's new limits, and new obstacles, new challenges being done by many people, especially
Yeah.
you. I mean, you've broken so many parts in your body, and you're still out there fighting, you're still out there working out, and you're still out there doing sparring races.
Yeah, exactly, man. Don't let people limit you. How many times I've been told by doctors, "Oh, you won't be able to do this." Oh, really? Why am I still pressing over my head? Oh, why am I still squatting 300 pounds? Like
Yeah,
that's weird. Yeah. So don't let people limit you, man. Otherwise, you'll just go into a depression and not do what you want to do.
right. So what do
But
you
PT is very important.
when how important is recovery after like a fight or even just a race for you?
Yeah, I'm so big on recovery.
Mm,
You know, I got to do some form of stretch before and after a fight, a workout, a race, whatever the case may be. Like I have so many different things that I use for myself. I'll do like a cold plunge after a workout
oh,
or a
say
race,
that again.
or a cold plunge.
Oh,
So
okay.
basically, you'll jump into like an ice bath or something like that, or take a nice cold shower for like 2 minutes. Just stand underneath it, like ice cold, so get your body recovered. Or go to a studio that has one of those ice bath that you step showers you just step into.
Hmm.
So recovery is very big. Do a lot of stretches that can help you recover. Meditate for a little bit. If you
Mm.
have one of those rollers, like one of those foam rollers, or what do you call it, hypervolts or theraguns, use those. Very, very important. Get a massage, get an athletic massage,
Mm.
get some, yeah, like those are all the things that I incorporate on my weekly basis,
Oh, okay.
because I put my body through so much work.
Yes.
So it's super necessary. So I'm,
Yes.
I'm so big on people recovering after you do a workout, you recover, you take your time, you relax, you eat, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty big on that.
Yeah. I've even noticed like now that I'm doing like I'm training for the Spartan race, I've even like I've done both of taking a bath, taking like a cold bath and taking like a hot bath. And I gotta say, like both of those times that I've done it, because I do it right before I go to bed. And when it comes to going to sleep, I sleep so comfortable. And in the
Hmm.
morning, I just feel like rejuvenated, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'm ready to go and do it all over again.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, they say you're supposed to take a cold shower after a workout just to get you recovered, and then go into bed. If you're going to bed, take a nice warm shower, and then when you go to bed, just have it nice and freezing so the body recognizes it and want to get all warm. It does its process of shutting down or whatever it is to recover.
Right.
So those are key components.
Right. And it's even crazy how like, you're as as technology and innovation gets more advanced, we now are focused on more of little details or little muscles that we weren't aware of. Back in the day, it was just your basic ones. If you wanted to look fit, if you wanted to feel fit and healthy, it was your chest, your quads, and maybe just your triceps and your biceps. But now
Yeah,
it's like it's working. Now you can literally work every part of your body and also recover and stretch every part of your body.
that's correct, man. That's why I love new studies that comes out every time. I try to catch up on it because I could read something and tell you something right now, like this is also so, and then I could read something next week and says, no, actually, this is also so. I come back to it. Another study said.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. So there's always something out for a specific body part, or you know, as far as for recovery and to work out and so on and so forth. So,
Is there any like muscles that you usually try to work on that people are like, what? Like, I didn't know, like, you could even work that body or that body part.
no, not really. But there is certain exercises that people always ask me, like, what does this work or what does that work? Because I
Hmm.
do so many different things in the gym, depending on, because I try to get like 2 to 3 in a day. So I usually get questions about my functional training for MMA, or so for like, what does this do? And I'll explain it. This is for that and that's for that. Um, but for the most part, I really don't get it asked that much.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah. So it'd be like sports specific, I would say, functional sports specific workouts. Um,
Right.
Yeah. But
So where do you?
I constantly do like chest press and deadlifts because
Mhm.
that goes into everything I do overall, you know?
Mm, right. And I mean, it seems like now you have like everything figured out, of, what your goals are, what you're gonna do, and what you have to keep on doing. Where do you
Yeah.
think you built that mentality? Where do you think that came from?
Someone I did a podcast like a month ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so I got asked that question too, and I had to think about it for a second, and I go, maybe it's from my dad, right? I want to say because my dad, when I was a child, I wanted to do gymnastics, and I was probably like 5 years old
Oh,
at
wow.
the time. Yeah, and my dad, I just remember it was like one of those wake up calls. I remember my dad saying, "You're too old for gymnastics," and I think that's what bugged me, and I wanted to do everything else to say I could do it. So I still have that mentality growing up. Like I've done so many things in my life and say, "Hey, I can do this." Don't let somebody tell you can't do something. So I want to say that's probably where I got it from. That's where I deciphered it from when I was first asked that question. So
Mm. So what you do is you hear like the negative and you're like, oh, you do what you're supposed to do and just make it into a positive and just do
there you
what
go.
they tell you not to do, pretty much.
There you go.
So you're
Yeah,
you're
I don't listen to the negative at all. Just
right.
yeah.
So I mean, you're already, like we said, you're a very active person. You're always trying to do something, and with COVID happening, it seems like it put a big pause on everything and everybody.
Yeah.
How did it
It, it,
affect you?
it affected me in so many ways. I had a fight. Come here, bud. Right here. Look. Come around. Yeah, it affected me in so many different ways. Like as far as relocating from New York to New Jersey, got
Mm,
rid of my apartment. So training wasn't the same. I love running. I love running long distance and just getting my head together. Doesn't have to be on a treadmill. I could just run out in the woods and just so that part I enjoyed about COVID. But as far as me missing my peers, having a community, training together. I missed that. Couldn't do
right.
any Spartan races, so on and so forth. Like I did miss that because I'm so used to being an active person, you know. So when the big fad of like everyone being on social media, doing grouping together on a Zoom or teaching people on a Zoom or getting on the stories and training people, I was all about that because now I can release some energy.
Right.
So I had to divert to that, doing everything online. But for myself, just constantly running because there's not much I could do. There was no gyms open, so on and so forth. You know, I couldn't roll around with my peers, like I said. But I did had one fight in the pandemic, and that was tough to do because I didn't have those gyms open. I didn't have the sauna, you know, and
Mm,
that was pretty rough. So
wow.
it did affect me in a big way.
Mm. Yeah, I would imagine because I mean, like I said, you're a very active person. For everything just to come to a stop, you're like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah,
But I mean, it's like those things. It's like that. There's always that one thing that comes in and affects our life, and somehow, and you just gotta move on and adapt to it. Because if you're just there waiting for something to fall into your hands or for something to happen, it's probably not gonna happen. And sometimes
yeah,
you gotta adapt to it, and you gotta do something else, or you gotta make it work some other way.
yeah, 1000%, man, 1000%.
Yeah, because I mean now, like, because of COVID, now we got. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it like on in-home gyms or in-home those for boxing, boxing bags, and you got all kinds of stuff now that you can even like when it comes to work. Now, how many people have not gone to the office and then just officially started work from home now, remote,
Yeah,
everything. It
that's true, man.
Yeah, it's crazy how much of effect it took on a lot of people.
Yeah,
You know?
it did. I had so many friends that also started up just like you. I'm not sure how long you've been running your podcast, but they had a wake up call and go, my God, why do I need this job? You know, I always wanted to start a podcast. Why not do
Mm.
it? You know, I always wanted to quit this job. Why not quit it? Not a lot of people that don't have to go back into the office ever.
Right.
You know, um, so many people I know, man, that had a wake up call. You know, even a relationship. Why am I in this relationship? I really don't want to be in this relationship. Here's the wake up call. You know, so yeah, man. So it affected a lot of people in so many different ways besides uh, uh, the COVID aspect of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because even with me, like I had a consulting business going on, and with the consulting, there was a company that was working for the airlines, and after COVID hit, all the airlines were shut down. The company that I was doing consulting for, they obviously couldn't give me any work because now the airlines are shut down. So I was like, shit, like what am I supposed to do now? you
yeah,
know and during that time I was listening to a lot of like Joe Rogan, and I was like, you know what, I what I enjoy the most is listening to people and hearing their stories, and just surrounding yourself with with successful people and people that have the right mentality can be such a positive effect on you. So I was like, you know okay, why not? you
yeah.
know it led me I mean, it led me to this, and I've been loving it ever since then.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, man. Everyone had a wake up call.
Yes. For sure. So where do you see yourself now with MMA and sparring? Like, is that something that that you hope to continue on doing till whenever you can?
Yeah, until their wheels fall off, but I'll continue. I'm gonna continue, man. I enjoy doing that stuff. I thought about it so many times. I don't see me not doing this, right? It's
Mm,
all about being active, and I enjoy being active. Um, I have a friend. She's got triplets, and
wow.
she's now a friend. I'm in New York. She comes all the way from Buffalo, um, twice a month to train with me. And she's got all the energy in the world, man. And seeing her, I kind of see myself, and I'm just like, wow, like you're all over the place. You're doing that, and she's like, yeah, you do the same thing. It's like, yeah, we do have a lot of energy, and um, she loves what she's doing. It's like, I love what I'm doing. It's like, would you ever change? I wouldn't change. So it's like back and forth. Like, I love what I do. So
Right.
I can see me doing all the, if Spartan will still have me being a Spartan forever. Um, the fight life will have me, I'll stay in a fight life for a very long time. It's something I love. So
Hmm.
I can see myself longevity in this.
What are some of the things that you enjoy the most about being part of the Spartan team?
The community,
Mm,
everyone's just amazing. Like my entire team, man, they're awesome. you know um it's always a good time. Sure, the workouts are fun and great, and we make it for people and so on and so forth. You get to do these races, you know but yeah, the community.
mm,
Everyone's
right.
awesome.
Right. And then right now you're living, are you still in New Jersey or are you back to New York?
I'm back in New York now,
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, so everything kind of like, it's not fully open here in New York, but
Mm-hmm.
it's eased up a little bit, so it makes
Mm-hmm.
things easier. Yeah.
Yeah. And New York, I mean, I visited New York, I would say, when was it? Like 4 years ago. And I mean, that city just seemed like it's alive, and there's always something going on all day, every day.
Yep, that is New York City for you, man. So when like I was going back and forth to train clients still, I probably like, I usually have like 25 clients per week, and I
Mm-hmm.
would have like one client I have to come back to New York for. And people were saying New York City's dead in the news and stuff like that. And it's like,
Yes.
no, New York City's not dead. Sure, there's some businesses closed down, but it's still very much alive, you know. You know, especially in the pandemic when it hit like 5 o'clock, everybody's out. So that's what
Right.
people weren't actually seeing, you know. And then a lot of people were working at home, you know,
Right.
so it didn't make sense for them to be in the streets, you know. But New York City, when work hours are over, New York City is very much alive. So
Mm.
I love New York City, man.
Do you plan on staying there for a long time?
Um, yeah, my girlfriend and I, we talked about that. Like, I have my own company,
Hmm.
in here in New York City. They're really based, but I'm on so many different apps that I'm known all over, and I do a lot of my recordings here, and I trade majority of my clients here in New York City. So I plan to be here for a very long time. But with the lady, she wants to move to Florida, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, like everyone wants, it's no taxes, right?
Yeah.
So so that's the big reason for the big move. So
Is that scary for you?
prob- yeah, for me it's scary. She's, you know, she's like 2 years from now. I'm like, wait, hold up, wait a minute. Let me think.
Yeah.
So you're saying 2 years, 2 years. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I love New York City, and it's tough to think you'll be moving outside of New York,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. And then I actually moved from I'm in Texas now, but I came from California. I've been here and you know one of the things that I've noticed immediately is like that everything that you kind of build up at your home, like your network, your friends, your family, once you move somewhere else, it's like you don't have that anymore. You know,
Yeah, man,
it's like now you have to start all over. Now you
all
have
over
to
again.
see, what do these people do for fun? What's going on? You know, what's their routines like and all that.
Yeah, that's true, man. I grew up in San Jose, California.
Mm,
I would say New York basically raised me. And coming from California to New York, it was a bit of transition just to see how we have a chill vibe out there versus New York. Supposed
mm,
to be like tough, whatever the case may be, but everyone's really nice. And so doing that transition, I picked up real quick because Manhattan is really, it's big, but it's small.
mhm,
So it was easy to pick up on so many different things. You can do so many things here. So that was easy. And a buddy of mine years ago, we were like, let's move to California. And it was like, no, he's like, let's move to Vegas. And I'm like, no, let's go to California. He's like, where would you go? I was like, let's do LA. And then it's like, all right, so how about this? We do a drive. We go to LA, stay there for a couple months, see how we feel, and then we'll go to Vegas and stay there
mhm.
and see how we do a couple months. So the same vibe like you, going to LA, just like, wait, none of my friends are here, you know. It's like, such a weird and odd thing, you know. So it's like, all right, I'm not feeling LA. So we drove out to Vegas, stayed there for a while, and then he ended up like, he's like, I love it. He's like, I'm gonna stay here, and then
Really?
yeah, so he's like, I'm gonna come back to New York and drive the cross country and stay there. And 8 months in, like he didn't have any friends still. He couldn't find a job. It's like, damn. It's like that's probably what I would have done. So I chose neither of them, and I ended up coming back to New York and stayed here ever since. But then the pandemic happened, and I had so many friends like, all right, we're gonna go move here. We're gonna move here. I was like, I kind of done
Yes.
that. And then I had some friends that moved to where you're from, New York to Texas. And I believe they're in Austin.
Mm.
And because I'm actually going to go see them next month. That's what I was trying to figure out, if there was a Spartan race out there around that time, if I can go.
Oh yeah.
So, but not the same time. So I'll be out there in June. But my friends are like, it's different out here. Now we got to start all over again. And for them,
Right.
it's just like the same thing, like taxes, family, blah, 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 all that stuff. And they're like, it's open here, so it's like, oh, it's wild.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great. Come on through. So, and then I have other friends that moved there too, and it's like, oh, there's not much to do here. It's
Yes.
like, yeah, but it's like, but I'll still visit. And
One of the
then
things
I have a
that's
lot of people. Say it again.
yeah, that's one of the things for sure. that you gotta find some things to do.
Yeah. It's gonna be my first time going. I already booked my ticket. I believe it's to Austin that I'm going. So I'll be there June 16th to the 20th.
Mm.
So it's gonna be my first time in Texas. Let's see how that's. I'll come up with my own thoughts on that.
Right. So you're gonna be here in Texas from the 16th to the 19th?
To the 20th.
Oh,
Sorry, the 16th
and then
to the
is that
20th. Yeah.
also the and you're also having a fight during that time, right?
No. My fight was supposed to be May 12th. That
Oh,
didn't
okay.
happen. Yeah, that didn't happen. Yeah.
So
Yeah, my manager
because
told me that wasn't happening anymore. So I didn't even ask any questions. It's just like, all right, it's
mm,
not happening. That's it.
right, yeah. And see when that happens, does it get postponed and or do you when you hear that you're like when you're training you're like, ah, well now I have a little bit of a break.
Yeah, that's what it's like. As long as you don't sign a contract and get too invested in it, it's best you hear it early.
Right.
That the fight's not happening. Than putting all that time in and working, and then they're like, oh, sorry, it's not happening. So, no, I do get a little break to do something.
Yeah. So I mean, you're a Spartan, you're an MMA fighter, and you have your own company, and you also have a girlfriend, which also requires time. So
Yeah.
is there like a time management system that you do, or you just come on or you just take on whatever comes at you?
Yeah. So I do the time management. So I'll just, if Spartan asks, hey, can you record this and do that? I'll say, hey, I can't at this time. But if you give me a heads up way ahead of time, I can, just have a Google Calendar running. Um, Girlfriend, she knows how I am. She knows I'm completely active. So she tries to fill her schedule that way too. So we'll meet up somewhere in the middle.
Mm,
My company, I'm constantly working through my company on top of that. So that's money coming in. So I have to do that. And I got a dog too, so he requires some time.
right. Yes. Yes.
So and then the toughest part to say actually, it's friends, right?
Mm,
So
yes.
yeah. So I would say getting friends together is the biggest thing, so you don't like lose contact.
Yes.
Same thing for family, getting them together in a one big bulk, so you can spend time with everyone.
Right.
So
How did your parents take it when they found out that you wanted to be a MMA fighter?
I stopped fighting for years because of my mom, because she
Oh,
wasn't.
really?
Yeah, she did not want me to get injured. My first few injuries, she's like, "Oh my God, my baby, you can't have you be injured. Oh no!" And she'll say, "Oh Jesus, oh God," and all that stuff. So I told her I stopped. I kind of fibbed to her. So, and then years later, I picked it up and started doing it again. And then it must be like 10 years now, and she still has no idea that I'm an MMA fighter.
Right.
She thought I stopped here. So she'll see like my belts around, my gloves around, and she'll think it's like in the past.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah. So, but everyone else in my family, they know. So the only person that thinks it's over is my mom. Yeah. So whenever I come around and people want to ask, so I saw this knockout, it's like, shh, don't say nothing. Yeah. And I have like a 10-year-old niece. She'll like Google me and
Oh,
pop
yes.
something up, and she's like, Uncle, look. And it's like, no. So it's an interesting with the folks knowing that I'm a fighter.
Yes. And
Yeah.
in MMA and financing and all that, even it's a little bit I would say complicating or tricky because it seems like before you actually get to a paycheck, you have to go through some battles and you have to go through some punches to even get recognized or to even get your first paycheck from your sponsor or whoever you're fighting for.
Yeah, man, that's correct. You do have to go through a lot in order to do that. When I started taking these fights, I was doing a lot of underground fights.
Mm. Like Fight Club?
Yeah, kind of like Fight Club, man. Because in New York City, I didn't know that people were doing it in other states because I wasn't big on social media. So I didn't know about the Kimbo slices and, things
Mm.
like that, that they were doing street fights also. So I heard about this. It was like, what's the dojo's name? I forgot the dojo's name. And they're like, oh, yeah, we do kind of like a Mortal Kombat, right? Yeah. So they had all these guys from all over would come and they would fight different arts and they would fight each other. So it'd be like Muay Thai versus karate or wrestling versus so we would fight for these belts and these championships. So that was like my first street fight. So we'd have it like a roof or a backyard. And
Wow.
the main dojo that I would have it at was like it was like in Queens and above a a police station. And it's like, and at that time it was these things weren't legal. I was like, wait, we can do this? It's like, all right,
Okay,
like
let's
I
do
guess
it.
we're doing this. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. Yeah, and these the rings that they had to was built up was like the stick with the cord around it.
Oh
Just like
my
it wasn't
God.
protecting you from anything. And then if you fall out the ring, people would push you back it. So yeah, picture like a movie as
Right.
start scene, and that's what we were in. So
Wow.
I'm getting off the cuff here because you're bringing up some memories. So I don't remember what the question was, but
Just keep it going. I like where this is
yeah.
going.
So yeah, those times were fun, man, and that's how I got started with that whole fight thing of started doing. Oh yeah, so started, and I remember started doing the those things and promoting myself,
Mm,
and I started saying, hey, I could get paid for this damn thing, So
right.
this guy and I would like make big bets on me. Actually,
Oh,
rewind, went to Thailand and I started training out there, started doing some Muay Thai fights. And
wow.
I just like then the guys, I don't know if you've ever been to Thailand, you go into the
No.
stadium. So these guys, I never even seen any Van Damme movies, right? You see them come around and be like, oh, making a bet on so and so. You're like,
Yes.
that's a real thing. And when I went there, I'm in the stadium before I started doing my first fights. Guys were coming up to you with money, be like, making a bet on this person, making a bet on that person. I was
Wow.
like, oh shit, this is real.
Right.
So I did that for the first time. And then when I came back to the States, I did to the underground fights. And it's just like, I met this guy and he's like, yeah, I'm going to make these inside bets. You want to know? He's like, yeah, bet on myself. So
Wow.
that's how I started doing it. It's like, oh, I can make money. Then branched out and started taking these fights. And I started saying, hey, I'll sell tickets on myself. And on top of that, when I win this fight, I get such and such. So that's what I was doing. And I started making more money from these fights, promoting myself.
Wow. Yeah.
And until it became a thing where I could say, hey, I'm the main event. I expect such and such. Hey, I'm going to hold the title. I need such and such money. So that's how that worked,
Wow.
So I built myself up
Mhm.
until I got to the top. So to go back to answer your question, yeah, it takes time in order to make
Wow.
money.
Yes. And a
Yeah,
lot of beatings.
yeah, man, a lot of beatings in order to get to that level to make some
Wow.
money. And I'm still not at that level yet, to make like millions, but I make thousands,
Right.
But I would love to get to that level where I'm making millions. And I would say if I put all my eggs in one basket and just focus on that, I could go there to make those millions, but I
Mm,
don't. I've got so much going on, And if you're
right.
like a Conor McGregor, that's what he did. He went all in, you know,
Right.
to make those millions.
Even then, that could be, I would imagine that could be even scary.
Oh yeah, man. It's
Because,
very scary. You need
yeah.
someone that can hold you down just in case that don't happen.
Yeah. Because
So
it's just like everything you have to, in order to make money, you gotta put in money. And, if you're not getting income, where are you gonna pay for your training? Where are you gonna pay for your meals? Where are you gonna pay for your
yeah,
tools to recover? It
yeah,
could be something scary.
yeah, man. You definitely need money. And you need the money to take care of your body. You need the money to pay your trainers. You need money to go into the gym. It's you need all that. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also great that when, especially when COVID, for people that have multiple incomes,
Yeah.
like luckily for me, I was able to not only have a job, but I also had a consulting, and I actually had like a third income. But when COVID hit, I lost two of my incomes, but I wasn't completely lost. I still had at least my job that I can still buy the necessities, but that comes with, me having a family, and I know I have to, get as much income as I can, just to say anything happens. And it did, COVID happened, so now I at least have something to fall back on. And it's like when some people just focus on one thing and the rest is just chill and Netflix.
Yeah. That's true, man. Yeah, I know a lot of people that did not have like a second or third income going into this, into the pandemic. And thank goodness, like I had that, um, income coming in. Because I was doing the Zoom thing. I was jumping
Mm,
real fast. I still had clients that still wanted that workouts, so they would pay me for those. I would write their programs, so on and so forth. So that's, you can count that up to chalk that up to two income. And then I was on these apps. You know, I wasn't on the Spartan app yet, but I was on these apps for different companies that my workouts, people would go on it, they would pay for it. I would make a percentage from, pay per view kind of that. So I had a couple of different incomes coming in. I had my own company merchandise that I was selling,
mm,
wraps, gloves, hoodies, shirts. So people were picking all that stuff up. So I had all that income coming in, thank goodness. But there's so many people that did not have that. And
right.
that's another thing, they realize, oh shit, I should not be living paycheck to paycheck. And
Yeah.
my girlfriend was one of them too. And just like
Mm,
a wake up call. It's like, oh shit, I can't depend on my boyfriend for all this. I need to get on my own ground, you
yeah.
know. So she did. So there's a lot of people like that realized, man, let's get
Yeah.
this second or third income.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I feel like I feel like COVID has really like pushed us and forced us to become more like virtual and becoming more of entrepreneurs, and like people having their own podcast, people having their own channels, people starting their own thing, and even that can be a second or third income, because there's some people out there that are doing two or three podcasts, and
Yeah.
if you fail on one podcast, or if one podcast gets shuts down, then you always have something else to fall up on, fall
Yeah.
back on.
Just like that. Yeah.
So yeah, I think hopefully, we'll go back to, maybe this is like, I feel like sometimes it could be like a genetic thing where, back in the day we would trade, everybody would have their own little stand where, this family sells potatoes, this person sells yams, so everybody had their own thing going,
Yeah.
everybody's kind of sharing the wealth, and
Yeah.
I'll give you one potato for one yam or whatever.
Yeah, man. People did have a lot of wake up calls with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the sad to say. That's one of the things I liked about what happened in the pandemic. People learned how to pivot. You
Hmm.
know, you know, shit. Oh shit, I need to do this. Oh shit, I should jump on this. You know, let me not procrastinate anymore. So that
Yeah.
would be the good thing I liked about the pandemic. But
Even like with health, like we actually met somebody who got COVID, and during the time that he had COVID, he realized, like, shit, I need to start eating healthier, I
hmm
need to exercise, I just need to be more active, and I need to keep myself healthy. So now, I mean, he's eating healthy, he's working now, and he already lost 30 pounds. And it's like, you know what? That's good for you, man. That's the
yeah,
thing that everybody should be doing, and it sucks, but that's something that doesn't get promoted as much as it
yeah,
should,
yeah,
but it's something so beneficial.
yeah. I had that conversation not too long ago, man. Uh, well, I had it all through the pandemic, and I had to have the conversation again. It's like they don't really tell you, right?
Hmm.
But that is one of the biggest things. If you're not healthy, it's gonna hit you, and you might not survive. Um, And that's basically what happened with everyone that's like obese or so on and so forth, you know. But they're not really telling you all that. They'll give you a little something to say, hey, stay healthy, but they're not giving you the feel big. Hey, everyone needs to be, just in case a disease happens. There's
Right.
millions of diseases out there that they constantly check. This is
Yes.
what just this one that got, you know, unfortunately released that our bodies couldn't fight off, you know. You know, we constantly fight off, our bodies constantly fight off so many diseases, bacteria. You know, we
Yes.
have some in our system right now, you know. So the biggest thing we have to do is eat healthy and work out. And I try to tell people like every single day, man, you know, look at that, the unhealthy ones are just died off, unfortunately, you know. Really, really sad, but
Yeah. And
it
it's
happens.
yeah, it's crazy. It just seems like there's always something trying to kill us. You know,
Mm-hmm.
whether it might be something tiny or big, where either a catastrophe, some germs, some bacteria, some viruses, there's always something trying to kill us. And,
Yeah,
you know, that's kind of like, I would say that that's part of evolution, because at the end of the day, the ones that that have self responsibilities, have self discipline, are the ones that thrive ahead.
yes, 100%. Like I like watching these shows, man. Like they discover different civilizations, and they just can't figure out like what killed them. How did this civilization just die? You
Hmm.
know, and it's sometimes they'll be like, it's probably this disease or probably that
Hmm.
disease because this makes no sense. Or they had vegetation, so why did they? You know, like so on and so forth. You know, so I would say this generation we should just take care of ourselves. Use this as
Yeah.
like as an example of what to do. You know,
Right.
so
Yeah, and it seems like right now is like the perfect age, or maybe not the perfect, but it's a good age to make the right choices, because now we have so many options. We have options. You can either, go to, you could either go to McDonald's or go to this independent, healthy place that sells salads and sells like non-GMO, organic, all this stuff. So, you have a choice to either go to McDonald's or go to this better option.
yeah,
And you have a now we have data, and even the data supports all the choices that are up there. So it's like
yeah,
all the information, all the data is up there. Now it's just up to you to make that decision. And like, it sucks because even like McDonald's, it's so horrible, but yet it sucks because it's so delicious when you have it.
yeah.
It's like they
True,
put
man.
they put the perfect formula to get you.
Yep. I remember when I was younger. Like I haven't had. I've had McDonald's. I've had Wendy's. I've had Burger King once, and I've had them years ago. This is, man, I want to say like 15, 20 years ago. I
Wow.
probably had these. Yeah. So
Wow.
I'm not big like on fast food, but I remember it was delicious at the time. You know. But I don't crave it, you know.
Right. Yes.
And but I can see how America has gotten obese
Mm.
from fast food being around. You know, the Burger Kings, the McDonald's, and the Taco Bells. You know, I can't do it with Chipotle in that order because they're actually on the healthier side.
Yeah.
But yeah, the information is there. I tell a lot of clients this all the time, but it's up to you in the long run, right? And there's some clients that actually give a program to it. I say, hey, are you following the program? Because I don't see
Mm.
any changes. I know where you're supposed to be at. And they're like, no, you know, it's just habits and the people you're around or the family. You know, like one client, I'll I'll, I'll tell you, I gave him the program and right, he's kind of like nodding the first time. This was years ago. It's kind of like nodding. I want to say a week or two. I came back to him. So how's it going? He goes, man, to be honest with you, I did not do one thing on that program. He goes, I'm from New Orleans, and he's like, to go from what you gave me to what we have in New Orleans, it's kind of tough.
Oh,
You know, even
right.
yeah. So everyone's program was like, take your time from what the system you're used to, and then work your way in. For him, that was so tough to do because he's so used to the fried stuff and the fatty stuff, and you know,
Yes.
so it's tough to like break habits. And same thing going in the future, like later on, when I start meeting people that's so used to their Wendy's, their McDonald's, their Domino's, it was, those things are so tough to break that I had to say, hey, try and enjoy this once in a while, or have it on the weekend so you don't feel forced. But
Right.
doing that sometimes, they're like, oh, I want it. I want more. I can't stop with one slice. I can't stop with one burger, you know? So they'll take a cheap meal into a cheap day, you know,
Right.
and then the habit starts forming of, all right, I'm getting back into this routine of what I used to have. And so
Yeah.
um, it is tough, but the
Yes.
options are there for you. People start, they even everywhere you go now, there's a calorie on there, you know, to
Mm.
say this is 600 calories, this burger you're about to, this is 800 calories, the burger you're gonna have. So the information is there. It's up to you to choose, should not have it, you know.
Right. And even just like you mentioned, like the guy from Louisiana, it's crazy also how, how much of a difference it is because I for 2 years straight I was on the vegan diet, and that was in California. And once I moved to Texas, that vegan diet went out the window.
Right. Yeah, I've heard about that.
There's no vegan spots here.
Yep, I've heard about that, man.
And you know what? And the vegan diet was something that I feel like you kind of every diet can work for you as long as you're doing it the right way. Because when I was doing the vegan diet, I was doing nothing but vegetables, vegetables, rice, and all kinds of carbs. But I wasn't
Yeah,
going to Cars Junior and getting the Impossible Burger or getting getting like that processed meat. And if I would, I did a couple of times to try it out, and even I would even do it like on cheat days. But other
hmm
than that, Monday through Saturday, I would do nothing but vegetables and rice and just like try to keep a healthy carb. And for me, that worked out. And then now that I'm doing kind of the opposite of doing everything but low carbs, that's also working out for me.
hmm
So I feel like you could any almost any diet can work for you as long as you're keeping track of what you're eating, because it's so easy
yeah,
for you to just keep on eating.
yeah. That's what I was saying in the beginning. It, that's the thing about certain diets. It could be a vegan diet, it could paleo, like whatever it is. As long as you have a system, though, you know, it could work out for you. Or if you overdo the system, you can get bigger on the system. Um, and knowing or maximizing what you're having in your body. You know, the only thing about a lot of vegan diets is that it's a lot of carbs in it, right?
Right.
um, and some people don't know where to find their protein, but you can find your protein in it. So people will
Right.
overdo it. I don't feel full, so they'll just keep having more and more of it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
And even like
so
when I
yeah,
was
it sounds
doing
like you're the right thing going
Yeah,
now.
and even with, I mean, that's another thing why I couldn't do the vegan diet anymore, because it does take a lot of time. You have to literally go out there and cook your veggies, and that can take some time and even to prep, because now, I mean, now doing mostly protein and fat, all I gotta do is, put one piece of steak and I could eat that and I'm good. Where
Yeah,
it was in the vegan diet, I would be cooking broccoli, or we cooking sweet potatoes and some rice or some potatoes, and it would just it takes time, and it
yeah,
require a lot of meal prepping.
yeah. It does take a lot. Like I constantly meal prep all the time, so I know what to eat when it's time to go. Or I'll have like a company sponsor me to give me a bunch
Mm,
of foods where it's already there and I don't have to really think about it. But something that works for me. But the meal prepping was easy. When I was on a vegan diet, what I wasn't a vegan diet, I shouldn't even say diet. When I was vegan for seven
mm,
years, what was tough for me is not just the bloating, right? That was tough, but that came later on. It's the fact of like at the time, everything was expensive being a
mm.
vegetarian. You
Yes,
know, every single thing was really expensive. So for me, that's what was hurting my pocket more,
true.
you know, than anything else. But now I'm not a vegetarian anymore. It's fairly simple. I can have everything. I can meal prep and uh, uh, put that aside and have my meals, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
I would even say that it's even good to have kind of a balance of both, like somewhat, or like 80%, 70 to 80%, protein and fat, and then 20-30% of veggies, and then, or, 20% of veggies, and then 10% of carbs, so it's like it being good just to have a mix of everything at once.
Yeah, the graph usually changes, and like I said, it depends on what works for your body type or what my client wants or needs. I'll usually play around with that. I'll toy around with it a little bit, but I always go big on the protein. I always go big on the veggies, and I go
Mm-hmm.
small on the carbs.
Carbs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say it's even hard for people to follow anything, especially like, when Donald Trump was our president, and you know, you see him getting COVID, and then right after, or even throughout his whole presidency, he was out there eating McDonald's, and it's like, what kind of message are you
setting a
Ex-
bad example.
exactly, and I feel like it can also be part of that. And I was reading that back in the day, our president Theodore Roosevelt, he was big on fitness. He was big on in eating healthy, and they even made like a little joke that if he was here, because he was doing wrestling, so they would say like if he was
Okay,
here,
that I didn't know.
that if he was here, he would have probably been part of the MMA too.
Yeah.
Just because he had, he was working out and he was doing a lot of wrestling. I forgot what type of martial arts he was doing, but he was doing some type of martial arts. But that's one of the things that he tried to promote, because he would say, a healthy person can be a healthy community, and a healthy community can be a healthy nation.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true. That's true. You need a good leader that can set a good example for you.
yes.
And yeah, our guy, that guy, that was not it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So, for the Spartan race, um, when it comes to running, what type of breathing do you do?
Who that is an interesting one, right? Um, if you're running uphill, your breathing is a little bit different. Um, the same but different.
Okay.
I'm constantly filling my stomach with air,
Mm,
without oxygen, like, and filling it up. If I can feel that big bubble, I feel better because I know it's filled up
mm,
back and forth. So I'm constantly like, where I don't even think about it anymore, especially when
right.
you're fighting. That comes
Yes.
into play. So doing a race, I'm doing it. But if I'm doing like a spear throw, I do hold my breath. If I'm lifting
Okay.
something, I hold my breath. If I'm tossing it, of course I exhale. If I'm slamming, I'm not breathing and then I'm exhaling. But if you're going uphill, it's different. If you're flat ground, which is you don't have it that much, um, then it's just normal pace in and out, and just go with your stride, right?
Mm,
And a
mhm,
big tip I would tell everyone is what I see is this a lot
mhm.
whenever they're running, right? Loosen up that grip. Just open up your finger and just go. Just loosen up a little bit. Lift your knees high, kick your heels back, and just go. And then everything
Okay.
else should flow. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool, man. So for the race, coffee, but not no coffee. And if I
Yes, coffee,
do,
but no coffee. Have it at a good time where you can use the bathroom beforehand.
yes, yes. As long as I
That would
use
be
the
my
bathroom,
advice on it.
yes.
I have learned not to have coffee before a race, so because I
How
know what it does to me.
how like what time frame would you say would be good to eat? Like 2 hours, or yeah, 2 hours before the race, 3 hours?
Yeah, just about 2 hours. So same thing for what I tell my clients when they go for a workout or we go for training. Have it about 2 hours before. Just make sure you
Mm,
have something that you can digest.
right.
Fat. Your body. Don't go ahead and have like a big steak for breakfast and
Mm,
some eggs and expect to go out there. It's not going to sit well on your stomach. But eating the night before is key.
And
I
then
would
you
say
said
have a lot of carbs.
carbs. And what
Yeah,
good
just
carbs would you
basically it's
say?
basically carb load. Just like for me, I'll have like sweet potatoes. Some
Mm,
people have pizza. I wouldn't recommend the pizza because it's got like dairy in it. I'd say have like a nice
mm,
big sweet potato beforehand with your meal. That's a huge one. Um, you can have a banana as a dessert before
mm.
bed. Mix it into something, and you can have that with like a protein or make a shake. Um, in the mornings, you can have your banana too with your oatmeal, and that'll take you through. That's a lot of carbs there that can power you through.
Right.
Those are my two that I recommend, but probably around the 2 hour, 3 hour range, I would say. See if your body has time to process it, and if you have to go to the bathroom, do that.
Mm, okay.
But if you're
Have
one
you,
of those people that really need your coffee, go ahead and have your
yeah, I
coffee.
think I'm one of those people. Have you tried or experimented with fasting?
Fasting. I've done a couple of different fasting. Uh, Going back to fighting, I had to do a couple of
Mm,
fastings to try them out. Um, and intermittent fasting was one that I ended up enjoying for a while and not realizing that I'm doing it because I'd get up so early in the morning that I would just get up and go.
all right.
Um, and then it turned out that I wouldn't have time to eat until like noon.
Mm,
So that would be my intermittent fasting there, and then I would have an early dinner like at 6, and then that would be my time again, to go straight through. So I was doing intermittent fasting without doing intermittent fasting, without
mhm,
knowingly doing it. You know,
right.
um, Fasting worked for some people, for some cultures. If it works for you,
Mm,
I would say do it, but just be careful what you're doing workout wise. Otherwise, it could really put some strain on your body. You could even pass out.
right. Yeah, because I've been doing intermittent fasting I usually try to do for 16 hours. So I stop eating at 8, and from 8 o'clock to noon, all I'm drinking is just either water, tea, or coffee, and that's it. And there's even times where, because right now I've experimented to see how my training is better. Like if my training is better when I fast, or if I eat like 2 hours before and then I work out. And I feel like they both kind of, there's not much of a difference. Like both ways, it's still a good amount of training for me, but it's
Yeah,
great how fasting can really make you feel. And even like, I feel like even like bulking up has helped me a lot, and
yeah,
even like focus, and just having self-discipline to not, you know, go out there and eat something.
yeah, yeah. That does teach you keyword that you just said right there. Discipline. That is the key word right there. For me, for my body type, I do see a composition change when I do uh, fasted cardio with
Mm,
intermittent fasting. For some people, it's different. Like if you're gonna go train for some MMA and you're doing some sparring, I wouldn't recommend doing that fasted.
mm,
You know, um, but if you're going for a race, it's fine. It's fine to go out there and intermittent fast and then do a
mm,
fasted cardio. You
mhm.
know, um, but there's certain times I would say do it, and there's certain times I would say don't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jay, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it. I thank you for all this helpful information.
No
Thank
doubt,
you
man. No
for
doubt.
for coming on. I really appreciate it. And thank you for coming on again. And I'm gonna, you know, I'm glad we got to do this, because also, it could definitely give us some motivation for both me and the Spartan team at work.
Yeah, man. I wish the team well, man. And I'll be
Yeah.
rooting for you guys.
Yes. I'll be sure
Send
to.
me some pics.
I'm gonna end up posting my time, and I'll tag you, so you see where I'm at, so you give me maybe some tips on how to improve it or whatever.
Damn right. And tag Spartan too, man.
Yeah. All right, Jay, man. Thank you again.
My man. Thanks, so.
I really appreciate it, man. Thank you
No
for,
doubt, baby.
thank you for coming on.
My man. All right.
All right. See you later, man.
Spoon and lips grasp, cherishing the John Hancock or some jock on your hips cast. Find your own lily path. This is my territory to tell a story tailored in 3 pieces: flag, oxygen, and thesis. I'm nursed by the bosom of a Columbus compass.